All right, good morning. As always, if anybody else tries to come in, if I can't let them in, maybe you could just push there should be an admit button. All right, so welcome to day 33 of our class. Today, as it says right here, we're going to do really three different things. First, I'm going to do the chapters 9 through 11 pretest for you from scratch. All right, so that's the first thing that we're going to go over. Then second, we're going to go over homework problem number 1. Now with the pretest, since it's a pretest, I will save it. I've already created a GitHub repo for it. All right, and that'll be available out there. But for the homework, all right, since it's a homework, I will not be saving that. All right, but before we go into actually doing the first homework problem, I'm going to show you what I'm expecting for the homework problem. So down here, I've got a working version of each problem, so I'll go over them with you. All right, then tomorrow will be your number 5 hands-on test. As always, I will have that emailed to you no later than 7. Can't see my screen. Boy, I thought I hit it, but I guess I didn't. Thank you. All right, there we go. Hopefully you can now. So again, today we're going to start by going over the hands-on test, which I call President Match. We're going to do that first from scratch. Save that. It will be put out there as a GitHub repository. Afterwards, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I'm expecting in all 4 of the homework problems. Finally, we're going to do homework problem number 1 as a class. I will not be saving that as a GitHub repo. Tomorrow, again, you'll be taking the hands-on test. As always, it'll be emailed to you by 7 o'clock a.m. There's only one problem on it. All right. At 8:05, I'll show you the way I did it, which is a little bit, I guess it's a little bit different than the way it's actually done, explained on the test. Either way is fine. It's just a minor difference. Okay. Uh, The other thing, well, on Thursday, we're going to start talking about object-oriented programming. Now, I've gone online and I've read countless articles on OOP or object-oriented programming. There's a lot of books on one of my favorites because I love the title. It's called More Poop on OOP. All right, and we're going to look at a couple of articles when we get started. And then we're going to jump right into the book. Now, probably more than I have in the past, we're going to spend some time on the programs that are actually in your book for chapter 12. All right, because they're pretty good. They're not fantastic, but they're pretty good. All right, so we'll start chapter 12 on Thursday. We will continue it into next week. All right, next Friday, as it says, will be a lab day, or this Friday will be a lab day. No taping, no emails, etc. So the C# Hot 5 on chapters 9 to 11 will be tomorrow. It'll be due tomorrow by midnight. And the chapters 9 through 11 homework and written tests will be due by this Sunday. Just before we get started, I'm going to repeat something I said yesterday. I believe, at least, I am all caught up on homework. We went over this yesterday. But please take a look at your inside Rankin grade sheet. And if you disagree, if you say, well, I turned that in and I didn't get a grade for it, occasionally I missed something. If that's the case, email me right away and let me know. All right, so with that, let's get going. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to spend just a minute or two going over this test, pretest. As it says, it's a contrived project. It's more set up for a few different reasons, such as I wanted to basically show you a project that uses drop-down lists, that uses checkboxes, that uses radio buttons. All right. Plus, for the first time, we're starting to really bring in some images into the program. And what you'll need for the program, I did give you a copy of it yesterday, so that's what I'm going to be working off of. All right. I've already created a new Windows Forms app. I don't know if I called it that or not, probably not, knowing me. But as it says, it'll be a very simplistic game. There'll be two forms on it. All right. So the first form that will come up will actually be this one. So this is the main page. All right. And well, you can look at it either way, that this is the main page. It doesn't really matter. That's fine. But what's going to happen is this. If you click this down arrow, it's going to have the first name of the last 15 United States presidents. So starting with Franklin Delano Roosevelt and going all the way through Joe Biden. And if you click this one, it'll have the last 15 president last names. They're already in order. All right. But you can sit there and change the order if you want. So for instance, if I changed it to Ronald Nixon instead of Ronald Reagan or Richard Nixon, it'll come back and there'll be a picture in here with like a camera on it that says not available because that president doesn't exist. If I were to come in here and choose Joe Biden and click match, it should come in here and give me the picture of Biden and say that Biden was a Democrat, right? The clear button should be operational. The exit button should be operational. And for help, what that should do is that should get you back to the other page, this page. All right, which has got a little bit of an explanation on how to play the game. And as you can see on the bottom, it has 3 check boxes. So here we have 3 radio buttons inside of a group box. And here we have 3 check boxes, again, inside of a group box. Remember that when we are working with radio buttons, they're mutually exclusive. So only one of these can be chosen at a time. And if I've got Democrat and I click Republican, then if Democrat was chosen, that black circle will go away and it'll go in here. All right. And in here, these are non-mutual exclusive choices. And since they're non-mutually exclusive choices, you can choose none of them, any one, any two, or all 3. All right. And as it says in here for the instructions, I'm not going to read everything that's in here. It should work. We want to populate everything programmatically from the arrays that I gave you. All right. And I already mentioned what should happen if there's a match or if there's not a match. So there should be no what I call real big surprises. All right, with this program, at least to my knowledge, there won't be any big surprises. All right. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually build this page first. Why? Because it's a lot easier. All right, I've already created the GUI for each page. All right, I want to say that again. I've already created the GUI for each page. All right, so I am going to come in there and just show you quickly what I did. All right, so we'll start with that in just a minute. Okay, and again, please, when you read your test tomorrow, usually for about 5 points of the test, I set it up that you have to set up the tab order, set up a cancel button, set up your accept button, your start position, etc. Please do that. All right. I'm kind of looking at it as when you do that, it's basically a free 4 or 5 points. All right. And again, try to modularize, as it says, as much as possible. Have the buttons act like drivers. Use good function, variable, and constant names. That really hasn't been much of a problem in here. People, by and large, have been using good names. All right, so this is the kind of thing that it should look like. All right, with our current president. So you choose the first name of Joe, the last name of Biden. You click match. It'll bring his picture up, and it should set his party to Democrat. All right, and again, as we said, there's not a lot to this game. That's fine. It's more to teach you again on how to use this stuff. In particular, again, how to use radio buttons, how to use check boxes, how to use drop-down lists, etc. Okay, so I have actually come in here. I'm just going to grab this quickly. I took all those comments, all right, I put them in a file here. Why? I'm going to show you in just a second, but that's literally all the comments that I just showed you from the test itself. All right, I've got the pretest, but none of it's been written yet. All right, so I'm just going to bring it up right now. I've created the GUI, so the graphical user interface has been created here. All right, here's the one page. So that's the match. I'm sorry, that's the main page. And there's the match page. All right. I'm just going to come into the match page here. I'm going to get rid of this, copy in that comment. In fact, I'm going to put the same comment on both pages, just in case I'm on a page and I need to go back and look at something. All right. So let me do a file save all, and we'll get started. All right. So again, this is the main page. And as you can see, this is how I set it up. Again, I'm not saying it was the best way or whatever, but I made this a text box that was multi-line, a label, a group box with 3 check boxes and 2 buttons. All right. So not, like I said, not like a whole heck of a lot. All right, for you to have to worry about. Now, what we wanted to have happen is when you load this, all right, the instructions should come up in here. I could have just put them in and hard coded them in as well right inside of the design mode, but I did it like this. All right, so let's double click on here and we'll bring that up from the form load event. Remember that when you are working in here, when you are working with a text box, if you want to do a line break, just a \n doesn't do it. You've got to preface that with a \r\n. All right, so that's what I'm doing there. So I want that to appear on the first line. So this will be on the second line. All right, so that's everything. So that'll set everything up. And then I just said txt instructions.text equals the output string. Now, nothing earth-shattering there. That actually should make sense, or hopefully it makes sense to everyone. And if I run this, all right, there it is. That's what I just put in there. Again, I could have made the text bigger, so it would have taken up more. It looks okay the way it is. Like I said, it's interesting because I've been reading a lot of articles lately on development versus design, where a lot of developers have written down, whether they're web developers or programmatic developers like this, that they say, I'm a good programmer, but I'm not a great designer. All right, where other people might come in and say, I'm a good designer, but I'm not a good programmer. In my opinion, for whatever my opinion is or is not worth, programming is much more important than design. I think design can be taught. I think programming can be taught. I mean, that's why you're here. But I think it's easier to teach a bad designer design than it is to teach a bad programmer programming. Again, that's just my opinion. All right. So, like I said, I'm planning on doing first uh, this one. Okay, so we've got 2 buttons here, and these buttons are called play the game, all right, and they're called exit. Well, let's just start with this, and I'll move this over. Okay, and then we'll bring up this one. You already know with exit what's coming here, or at least you should know by now. And that is, I'm going to grab this, And this is kind of what we've been doing all semester, so there's nothing new in here. I don't think we need to show error message in this program because basically it's just all stuff that we're selecting. All right. And I'll bring it in anyway. I don't think we use it. I don't remember if we do or not, but we'll see in a minute. All right. Okay. Now, when we do the exit part, we may have to add something later, so don't worry about that. But we've got exit in here. Okay. So let's go in and play the game. Well, we'll think about what's happening here. When we click play the game, what we want to have happen is we want to go to this form. So we're at this form and we click play the game rather, meaning that we want to go to the other form right here. All right. So you should by now, at least, it should make sense, hopefully, to people on how we would do it. All right. So the first thing, and I'm going to put a boatload of comments in here, hide the current form, which is FRM main. All right. And that's this dot hide. All right. Second, instantiate. I'm going to start to use object-oriented programming words because that's what we're moving towards come the end of this week. In other words, create a new play the game form. So we will say FRM president. Oh, what did we call that one? We called it match. FRM match. All right. And we can call this whatever we want. So I'll just call it president match. All right. And that equals a new FRM match. Okay. So that should create a new form, but it doesn't show the form. All right. So show the play the game form. All right. And we do that by saying president match dot show dialog. Now, again, I'm going to keep testing this as we go along the way here. So let's see if so far that works. So save all, I'll run it. I click the button and the other form appears. That's exactly what we want to have happen. All right. Okay. So that's, basically that's what we wanted to have happen right there. It wasn't much. Now, this isn't going to do anything. None of this is programmatically done yet. All right. Now, what else is left on this form? And believe it or not too much. All right. So on this form, on this one here, we've now got this working. Okay. But what we want to do is when we click exit, we're going to want to basically say to the person, as we always do, are you sure you want to exit the program? If they say no, we keep them here as we've been doing. If they say yes, right now, if we run this and I click it and I say yes, we're gone, we're done. But we want to do more than that. We want to check here and we want to see if 1, 2, or all 3 of these check boxes have been selected. All right, so I'm going to write my own routine in here. We go back to the code and under play the game. So right above exit here, I'm going to write a routine that's going to be called, it's going to be a private void, and it'll be called show checkboxes selected. And these things, since they're since they're not mutually exclusive, since again, 0 can be checked, 1 can be checked, 2 can be checked, or 3 can be checked. So because of that, okay, we have to check each one individually. It's not like you can use if else's here. Each one I'm going to put in as an if statement. All right. So if CB for checkbox, Facebook dot checked. By now, all right, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here. This should make sense to you. That is saying is that checkbox set? All right, is it actually checked? That's what we're saying right there. All right, so if that one is checked, all right, I'm going to have let's put a string in here. We'll just call it selected. We could call it whatever we want, but I'm going to call it selected. So if it's checked, I'm going to say selected plus equal CB Facebook dot text plus a blank space. Oops, I'll fix that in a second. All right. What does that mean? That means in a string in there, I'm going to have whatever text was right here. The text is Facebook. So there will be the word Facebook. All right. There will be the word Facebook, and following the word Facebook, there'll be a blank space. And I'm going to do this 2 more times. So if CB Instagram.checked, same kind of thing. Selected equal plus equals, that should be, sorry. Selected plus equals Instagram text plus a blank space. And then we have to do Twitter. And again, it'll be the same thing. I probably don't need that last blank space in here, but it won't hurt anything. All right. So again, after we make our checks in here, either, all right, either one of them will be empty. I mean, I'm sorry, will be checked. 2 will be checked. All 3 will be checked, or it's possible none are checked. Well, I only want to show this if none are checked. So in other words, if selected is empty, I don't want to do anything. All right. So what I did was I came back and put one more if in here that said if selected dot trim, and I didn't really need to trim it, but I did anyway. So if selected dot trim, if that is not equal to nothing, well, then I know that at least one of these were checked. All right. So let's change this right here from a show error message. Let's just call it show message because this is not an error. So we will call show message. And what do I want to show here? All right. Well, I'll put in here, you currently follow us on, and let's put a \n in there. And if I put the word selected in there, all right, if I literally put, selected there, all right, that'll have it. And again, it's only going to show it. It's only going to show it if one or more have been selected. And I put in here just a little title, social media presence. Okay. All right. That's all fine and dandy. Okay. That's not a problem, except for one thing. If I go and run this now, and I say exit, and I say yes, it isn't doing this. All right. Is it still checking this? The answer is no, because there's nothing calling this right now. All right. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to come in here. Remember, there's where we exit. All right. But here, now we can call show checkboxes selected. All right. I'm going to come back and go over all of these in just a second. But now let's just check everything. You really want to exit? Yes. You currently follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If we run it again and just choose one of them, now it's Facebook. And if we run it again and choose 2 of them, should be Instagram and Twitter. All right, it appears at least then that this part is working. And believe it or not, we're already done with the first form here. That's why I wanted to do that one first. So again, what was new in here? Well, we did fill this in. We filled in that text box programmatically right here. And again, we didn't have to do that. I thought it was easier to do it here than it was to go into the properties window over here and start typing a bunch of stuff in. That's why I did it like that. Then we went back over something we've done before, and that is to add another form. And when I say add, we've already added the form, but it's to make the other form active. So as you can see where I put the comments in here, we hid the original form, our main form. We instantiated or created a new instance of the play the game form. And then we made the play the game form our active form. This is not the way they did it in the last chapter in the book. In the last chapter in the book, they made a modal form, and that's when they use that tag to move stuff back and forth. We don't have to do that here. The other thing then that we did in here was we checked to see if one or more of our check boxes were selected. Simple string variable called selected, and we checked each one in turn. All right. So again, after we get done with this, either it'll be empty or any one of these 3, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter will be selected, or any 2 will be selected, or all 3 will be selected. But we only want to show it if it was not empty. In other words, if you didn't select anything, so if I run this again and I don't select anything, it doesn't say you follow us on followed by a blank. That would look really kind of bad, amateurish, whatever you want to say. So again, this appears, at least right now, appears as though it's all working fine. All right. The other thing we had to add then was before we left, all right, we added the call to that because if we didn't, it was never going to be called. All right, which wouldn't have worked out very well for us. All right. So that was the first one. Now, the second one, as you probably guess, is a longer program, but probably about almost the first 100 lines. It's about 280 lines or something like that. But the first 100 lines, all right, are not even including those comments, but we're going to have to put in those arrays. So we're going to do that next. So let me do a file, save all here. All right. And I'm going to close for now main, and I'm going to close main here. And I'm just going to be concerned with this one right here. All right, with the actual match. I'm going to move this over in case I need it. Okay. All right. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go and view my code. I've got the same comment again in here and virtually nothing else. All right. So the first thing I want to do in here is I want to come up and declare and initialize, all right, our class variables. And I'm going to grab them right from the thing that I gave you. What do I mean? Well, I provided this for you the other day. All right. And there's a text file in here, and it has global arrays, first names, last names, party, and images. All right. So I'm going to literally, for right now, I'm going to bring every one of these in. All right. Everything. Now, I'm going to have to make changes, but that's okay. All right. Not a boatload of changes, but a few changes to this. So let me just put this in here. All right. And right now it's not showing me errors, but these are all erroneous right now, and I'll explain why in just a bit. So what do we have here? All right, we've got 15 first names. To try to make it a little bit easier, I put each on their own line. I could have put them all on one line, or with 15, I could have put 5 on a line over 3 lines. I just wanted you to be able to see everything. The one thing that's in here it's not problematic, but it's something I could have changed with some code and didn't, as hopefully you all know, we had two presidents with the same last name. All right, so when you look in here, there's a Bush here and there's a Bush here. But when you go in to do the matching, you've got to match the right one with the right one. I could have programmatically gone in there and said, hey, if it's equal to this Bush or to this Bush, I didn't do that, but we could have. So we've got 15 first names, 15 last names, and 15 parties. Okay. Then notice it says you will have to change the path of all these image files to reflect your current location of said images. Well, before we even do that, we don't have any images in here. All right. So typically the way that you would do this, all right, to me, the way that makes the most sense is you would right mouse click on the name of your project and you would add a new folder. Since they're images seems like a fine enough name for the folder. The folder can be in uppercase or lowercase. When I create my own folders, I put them in lowercase. Now, there's nothing in here yet, but I did give you the images. So I'm going to right mouse click on the images folder, and I'm going to choose add. And this time I'm going to choose existing item. And it's going to let me bring in all 16 images, the 15 presidents, and the other one that's got a picture of the camera that says not available. So I'm going to bring all those in at one time in just a second. So I right mouse clicked on my images folder, chose add an existing item. Now I have to go get it. All right. Well, again, on my desktop, I gave you all, that's not it. Let's see, there it is. This folder called images. Now, when I double click on it, it's not going to show anything. And the reason it doesn't show anything is if you look way down here in the bottom right-hand corner, it's looking for a C# file to bring in. It's not looking for an image file. But if I click the down arrow here, one of the things that's in here is image files. As soon as I click that, there are all of my images. The easiest way to do this is to just highlight all of them, which brings them all in right here, and then just click add. And now my 16 images, and they go from 00 to 32. I just gave the president number. I was originally going to do this with all 46 presidents, but it just got to be too big. It was too ugly to look at. All right, so there they all are. Now, when you look in here, my path to these files will be different than your path to these files. All right, because you won't be users JP Scott. Yours will be whatever yours is. I'm going to just grab this first president here, which is Roosevelt, and I'm going to right mouse click and choose copy full path. Now, I'm going to actually bring this up on a different screen because I want to show you something here. That's the path. All right, I'm going to make it smaller so we can show all of it on one line. Let me knock it down to about 18. That should work. I can even make it bigger. Big enough. All right, when you do this and you set this up, there are different ways that you can refer to this path right here. This is the path. Everything that's in blue is the path. All right. Now, if I do this, if I decide that I'm going to put this all in double quotes, and since it's part of an array, I'll put a comma after it. Okay. And that's fine. All right. If I do it like this, and I put it just with the C# at like this, I believe at least it's going to expect 2 slashes at the end of each one of these. All right, because the first slash turns off the special meaning of the second slash. All right, now what if I don't want to do it that way? All right, so let me bring this back again. All right, I know it looks just like that, but I believe this will work as well. kind of the way you would typically do it in Windows. So I'm replacing in here one of these. And not to confuse you, but there is yet a third way of doing this. This is the third way, is the one I use. All right, I'm going to go back to this. I'm going to change all these back again. And the only thing that you have to do to make this last way that I'm showing you here work is you put an @ sign at the beginning. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this path right here all the way up. Whoops, I got to change that one too. Sorry. All the way up to Roosevelt. So I'm going to grab this whole path, including the slash, all the way up to Roosevelt. All right. Why am I doing that? Because I'm now, before your eyes, I'm going to manually change each one of these. All right. And you can see that it's a different path. And I will tell you that if you decide later that you're going to move this to another folder, for example, all right, if you're going to do something like that, what's going to happen is it'll be all screwed up again, and you'll have to go back and fix it again. What I just showed you, and I'll show you it again in just a moment, and that is going to any of your images in there, right mouse clicking on an image and choosing copy full path. That's what I just did. To me, that's the easiest way of doing this. You may agree with that, you may not agree, but I just showed you 3 different ways of doing the same thing. All right. And you just should choose the one that makes the most sense or that you think is the easiest. All right, let me double check here. Looks like those are all going to be okay. And let me finally change this last one here. All right. So now what should be, all right, what should be is I should have a valid string array of first names, a valid string array of last names, a valid string array of parties, a valid string array of images, which has the path to each one of my images, plus with the image file, this is not part of it because this is not a president. All right. Again, this is if we don't find a match type of an idea. All right. Okay. So get rid of this. There we go. So we're ready to get going then. And if we take a look at what's in here, so if I come back again, what do we have? Well, all right, you can see this already. We're going to we're going to have code here. We're going to have code here. We're going to have code here. And we're going to have there. Okay, that's all fine. We'll do that in just a second. But the first thing that I want to do is when the form loads, I want to load this combo box and this combo box. Call it a combo box, call it a drop-down list. It doesn't matter. But I want to load each of those. And as always, there's different ways of doing this. I'm going to show you the way I did it. All right, so let's say here, populate the first name drop-down list. And in just a minute underneath that, I'm going to have populate the last name drop-down list. All right. So to do the first one here, again, like I said, many ways of doing this. I just used a standard for loop. So I'm going to populate. I called mine DDL first name for drop down list first name, dot items dot add, and I want to add the member from the first names array, not first names LCV. That should do it. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other one so that you don't have to watch me type. We'll just change this to last. Now, there's a lot of different ways, like I said, of doing this. The form load is a natural place to do it because it's for lack of better words, it's kind of a one and done type of an idea. All right. I also want to make sure that when I do this, all right, that everything is cleared in here. In other words, I don't want there to be a picture. I don't want anything chosen here, etc. All right. Well, and how do I do that? Well, you probably can already figure it out. I'm gonna call clear form in just a second. All right. And in our clear, again, I'll call clear form. Okay. And now think about what I want to do in here. Okay. I don't have to necessarily do this, but I'm going to set this to the first one and I'm going to set this to the first one. I don't have to do that, but I'm going to set them like that. I'm going to make sure this is empty and I'm going to make sure none of these are chosen. So 1, 2, 3, 4 things basically that I want to do in there. All right. So in my clear form then, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say DDL first names dot selected index equals 0. That'll choose the first name, which is Roosevelt. Then I'll do the same thing for the last name. And you can see that the IntelliSense already kind of said to me, maybe that's what you want to do. And yes, that is what I wanted to do. All right. So next, I don't want there to be any image in there at all. All right. How do I do that? All right. In other words, I want that to be totally empty. All right. And how do I do that? Okay. Well, basically, I want to take what's in here, and this is called a picture box. Okay. And the easiest way to do it is to set the image property of this to null, meaning that nothing is set. All right. So this is called PB for picture box, PB president image. Now notice it wants to give me an enable. That's not what I want. Dot image equal null. All right. And we'll see in just a minute. We'll be able to tell whether or not that worked. All right. And finally, what else did we say? Well, we don't want any of the radio buttons to be checked. All right. So we can come in here and we can say this. We can say radio button Democrat dot checked equal false, radio button Republican dot checked equal false, radio button independent dot checked equal false. Now, I'm going to show you what I did. You wouldn't, of course, have to do this, but I said, first of all, maybe we don't even want it set to the first one. Maybe we want it set to nothing. So I'll make that -1 and I'll make that -1. Okay, well, there's a start. Okay, but what I did here was I actually made this into 3 different routines. Okay, that I called the first one, I called clear drop down lists. Okay, maybe clear wasn't a great name, but it's the one I chose. And I set both of these right here. Since I've now got that, I better call it. Okay, then my next one I called clear image. Okay, and I'm going to grab this. And of course, I'll have to call clear image. All right, and then finally, I wrote clear radio buttons. I'll grab this. Again, we will call it here. All right. And there we go. So I now have those. Of course, again, it was not necessary to do that in this way, but perhaps at a later time, I'll either add things, add some extra stuff, maybe I won't, but possibly I'll add some extra stuff here. All right. Like I said, maybe I won't, or maybe I'll want to be doing something different. So I did segregate them into their own routines. All right. All right. And somehow I've got mainform.click on here, which I don't want. So I'm going to get rid of that and see if it lets me get rid of it or not. All right. So here's the form. Well, it's not showing me anything here. I don't know why that click is there, but for now, at least, I'm just going to leave it. All right. Let's see. So we've got the clear done. The main form shouldn't be very hard. All right. Why? Because with the main form, we're just going to kind of reverse what we did before. All right. If you remember in the last one, in our main form, all right, in here where we had play the game, we did this. I'm just going to steal all that code and just change the name. All right. So main form, just like before, we'll hide the current form, which is now FRM match. I believe that's what it was. So this dot hide. So we want to create a new main form. So that'll be FRM main, and we'll just call it main, equals new FRM main. All right. And then main dot show dialog. Now that one, we can come in and check real quickly. So file, save all. We know that we can get to here, but now we should be able to go back again, and we can. All right. The other thing that we can check right now, not a lot, but we can come in here and do this, and I'll change that to independent, and I'll click clear. All right. And he either doesn't like something. All right. I'm not sure exactly what it did here, but maybe it didn't like it. Maybe I didn't call it. I don't know. Let's take a quick look. So clear form should have called clear drop-down lists, which should have set those both to nothing. Should have called clear image, which got rid of my image. All right. And it should have called clear radio buttons. So none of the radio buttons should be set. All right. Not sure why it didn't like that, or if it didn't like that, but let's just continue on and we'll see if it kind of works its way out as we go down here. So right now, we've got our clear button done. We've got our main form button done. Let's just get exit out of the way here. Let's stop the run. All right. And we'll get exit out of the way in just the way that we were doing this before. Now look at this. It put this in click. That should have put it in the load event. Oh, no, that's right. That is the other button. I'm sorry. That's correct. All right. So in our exit here, just like we have been doing, I'm going to again grab all this. All right. And I'm going to change that to show message instead of show error message. And because I'm a little squirrely this way, I want the exit to be on the bottom. So I'm going to put this above exit. Didn't have to do that, but it's just the way that I decided to do it. All right. So again, right now in here, this button is we have to write code for. This one's done. This one's done. And this one is done. All right. Like I said, what that means is what we have yet to do in here, all right, is our matching. Okay. And in doing that, what I tried to do was again, make it modular. All right. What do I mean? Well, I went back to the old and we could have done a try catch here. There's a lot of things that could be done. I just went back to what we started with and bool, keep going. And I set that equal to check for no, oh, hello, check for no first name chosen. Of course, I'm getting an error because that hasn't been written yet. So I'll put that right underneath here. And by now at least, that should make sense to everybody. Okay, what we're going to do here. All right. So I'll do the old bool ret val equal true. Now, to see if no name was chosen, I want to check for a selected index that's really got a value of -1, but I can just do it like this. I'm going to say DDL first name dot selected index. I can just say equal -1. That would be fine. Or I can just say less than 0. Either one would work or should work just fine. So I'm going to call show message, and it's just going to say no first name selected. All right. And no first name. Okay. And if that's the case, well, ret val, it's got to be equal to false. And then we will return ret val. Okay. Which means that'll have to be a bool. All righty. Now, I'm just going to copy this. Why? Because we need to do the same thing for the last name. So I'm just going to do that, paste that in. Okay. So this will be checked for no last name. So again, everywhere it's first, I'm going to change it to last. All right, so both of those done now. Now this one isn't being called yet, of course, right now at least. Okay, so what are we going to do in here? Well, pretty much what you think we would do, and that is if keep going is true, there was a value chosen in the first name drop-down list. So check to see if there was a value chosen in the last name drop-down list. All right. So again, you've seen this before. So if keep going. Again, I'm just going to grab this and change it from first to last. Okay. Well, if it wasn't, it was empty. So else return. Okay. All right. So if we get down to the last one here, so if I get down to here, there was a value in the first name. There was a value in the second or in the last name. All right. So now I have to check for a match. So if we get here, there was both a first name selected and a last name selected. So check for a first name, last name match. Okay. So again, if keep going, check for match. All right. So what we have in here right now is we have checked to make sure there was a first name. We have checked to make sure there is a last name. All right. Now I'm going to write this, which means that rather than giving you a break at 9, it'll be closer to 5 or 10 after, but we might as well just get this one finished and then we'll take our break. So after our check for first name and after our check for last name, let's write this one. Check for match. So right now, it's not showing me any errors that I can tell. I can try to, well, it's not going to let me bring that up, but I don't think there's any errors, but I haven't written this yet. All right. So if both drop-down lists are referencing the same array element location, there, geez Louise, Jeff, there was a match. If this is the case, fill the picture box with the correct image. All right. Now, I didn't do this yet. Shame on me, but let's run this again. All right, play the game. Nothing is chosen. I click match, no first name selected. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. If I do it again, no last name selected. No last name. Let me make sure I didn't miss any here. First. Okay, so as of right now, that's all working. All right, so let's fill it in with the correct image. All right, it's not that difficult, but it's kind of ugly. So I'm going to put the whole thing in here, and then we're going to, after we do this, okay, we're going to put it in as an if statement. And what do we want to do? Well, we want to come in and we want to fill in the image. We want to fill in the radio button. Okay. And if it's not a match, we want to make sure no radio button is selected. And the image that's selected is that camera that says no image available. So if sorry about that. Good gravy. If DDL first name dot selected index is equal to DDL last name dot selected index. If that's the case, all right. So the first thing we want to do is fill this in with the correct image. All right, so PB president image dot image. This is the way you got to do it. Dot from file. All right, and you've got to let it know where you're getting it from. Now I'm going to put this on a new line because otherwise it's going to scroll off the screen. So I'm going to say images, which is the name here, DDL first name dot selected index. Now it doesn't like something, okay, and I'll tell you what it doesn't like. Okay, right now, when we do this, it doesn't understand this from file. It doesn't understand it. If I click here, it says, well, do you want to introduce that? No. All right. And what should have happened here is this image, I typed it in, I started typing it in wrong. That should have been equal to, and again, I didn't make these rules. I'm just playing the game. You've heard me say that plenty of times this semester. All right. So it's still wrong, but we're going to fix it right now. We have to say system.drawing.image.from file, like that. And I think if we would have done a using statement in here, I think if we do this, I don't know, I think it puts it in for us. Let's see. No, don't need this one, but I am going to put in here using system.drawing. All right, I think that one will work. Then I'm wondering if I do that, if I can come down here, come on, and just put in image.from file. It's not giving me an error. That's good. Now, this is a real easy one to check, right? Well, let's save it. Probably haven't been doing a good enough job of doing a save, but okay, let's play the game and let's just try the current president. All right, so that part's working. Now, it already has Democrat, but that's just because he's a Democrat. So if I go in here and choose our previous president, you'll notice it still says Democrat and he's not a Democrat. So we have to fix that. All right. But now we should be able to go in and check out any of our presidents. And you'll notice if I say Harry Roosevelt, match, okay, it's not finding it. We haven't told it to do anything yet. We will right now. There's really not much more we have to write here. All right, like I said, you're getting your break a little late. I'm sorry about that, but I figured it would make more sense to do it this way. All right, so set the appropriate political affiliation, just say party, for the selected president. All right, so we'll do a switch on political party. All right, and doesn't like that. Let's see. So I missed something in here. Knowing me, I very well could have. Let me check. Give me a second here. All right, I just forgot a line. That's okay. We'll put it in right here. So string POL party equal party EDL last name dot selected index. And all we're doing is we're saying, hey, if you pick Truman, look. So let's say we pick Truman. Okay, so we come in here and we picked Truman. Okay, it's saying, well, that's basically that's element one, that's 0 and that's 1. We want the party to be 0, 1 in the same way. That's all we're saying. Now, let's see, it doesn't like show message. Did I remove? Didn't I show message? Oh, something's goofed up there. We'll have to fix that. We will do that in a moment. Usually this means right here, I'm missing a curly brace, but I think it might just be that I don't have my switch statement written yet. There we go. All right, so I want to switch on the political party. All right, case, and the order in which we do these, of course, doesn't matter. What order do we have them here? Democrat, Republican, and Independent. So I'll just put them in that order here. So case Democrat, CB Democrat, dot checked equal true and break. And I don't think it's CB, I think it's CHK. It's a, no, it isn't. What did I call it? Oh, it's RB Democrat. Okay, sorry, you're right. It's radio button. So RB Democrat dot checked is true. Let's just copy this down. So then we had Republican. Next, we had Independent. And this will just be our default, which should never be hit, and will just break. All right. You already saw what the difference is. Okay, so if I come in here and I do a file, save all right, you saw before that it was Democrat for everybody. But now if I come in and choose, for instance, Richard Nixon, I know is a Republican. So it's at Democrat. We do a match. There's his picture, and it changed to Republican. We don't have any independents. If I go back again to Franklin Roosevelt, who was a Democrat, and choose match, there he is, and it's back to Democrat. We're almost done, all right, because we put this in an if, meaning what if we had a match? All right, but what if there was no match? All right, literally, we've got about 2 or 3 more lines to put in here. So there was not a match. So else, well, we want to do the same kind of thing we did up here. All right, but we want to choose that no image available here. From file, it's not going to be now inside of an array. It's just going to be no image available. I guess I put it like that. Okay. So the other thing I want to do, we don't have a match. So let's clear out those radio buttons. So file, save all, and we'll just come in and we first one who was Franklin, along with the last one who was Biden. And wow, I sure didn't like that. There you go. No image available. And none of the radio buttons are checked. I believe everything is now okay. I did go out and I made a GitHub repo before class that's got this name on it. All right. And I will make sure that I tell you that name, but it is 9:14 since I kind of went way over. Let's take till 9:30. And when we come back, we're going to do 2 things. I'm first going to show you what all 4 homework problems should look like. And then next, I'm going to do the homework problem number 1. All right. So I will see you at 9:30. All right, it's 9:30, so I'm going to continue on. So here's the four problems that you have that are due Sunday. We're going to do this one right now. This is the superhero one. Create a GUI application to look up information about superheroes. Have at least 5. This dropdown should be populated programmatically. All right, it must contain an option for no superhero. I didn't do it exactly like that, but you'll see what I did in just a minute. When the user selects an option for the dropdown, so here, display all of that information that's there and the picture. Now, I'll show you exactly where I got this stuff from. In fact, I don't know if I sent this out to you or not. I think I sent you the images, but I'll also send you the alter egos. I'll just send you all the arrays. Let me just grab all those right now, because otherwise I'll forget to do it. So let's see. Superheroes, alter egos, images. You'll have to change the image paths again, of course. So there, and so I will send this to you by the end of class today. All right, so let's see. These we don't need. All right. So let's just take a look at this first one. So this is again the way it should work. Right now, believe it or not, there is no superhero chosen. All right, this is just the one that I had that came up at the beginning. These are my 5 superheroes: Captain America, Hulk, Iron Man, Submariner, and Thor. So if I come down here, notice Marvel superheroes, that's where I am here. If I go down to Submariner, you can see this changes, this changes, this changes, and this changes. If I go up to Thor, same kind of thing. To an Iron Man, same kind of thing. I guess I skipped Hulk. Captain America and Hulk. So it's a fairly simple interface. We've got one drop-down list, 1, 2. These are both labels. I think I made this a text box, multi-line. I'll check in a minute. That's a label. And there's 2 buttons, clear and exit. So that's pretty much what would be expected from you, all right, with the first one. All right, I'm just going to quit. Now, the second one, I've gotten emails from people saying, I don't know exactly what we're even looking for here. All right, there's 2 ways of doing this. And to be honest with you, I cheesed out and chose the easier of the ways. Okay, it says program must contain at least 5 industries. I've got that. Put them into a list box. Program must contain information about at least 5 jobs. Well, I've got 3 for each industry. All right. List box must be populated programmatically, which means this should be set up like in the load event. List box must allow multiple industries to be selected. There is, when you put in a list box, there is a selection mode in there. You'll want to choose, I think it's multi-extended. Clicking the search button will allow the search results in a new window. So you can do it in the new form. That's actually pretty hard. All right. So what I did was I just created a list box. A message box for it. All right. And search results must be populated programmatically. Let me show you what I mean. So this is what mine looks like. All right. So what industries are you interested in? Front-end developer or C# programmer or back-end developer or full stack developer or ASP.NET programmer. Let's just pick every other one. All right. When I click calculate, notice I get job listings, front-end developer, and there's 3 jobs, back-end developer, and there's 3 jobs, ASP.NET developer, and there's 3 jobs. If I do it again, and I choose the second and the fourth one, again, C# programmer with 3 jobs, full stack developer with 3 jobs. All right. If I choose all of them, I get all 5. Now that's the much easier way of doing it. I didn't put links in here. There is a control that's called a link label control. We've never talked about it, but there is a control for that. And what I was going to do was to bring up another form and put those in as link labels. Well, a link label is a label, but if you click on it, the idea is you associate a URL with it. That would have probably been a cooler way of doing this. I didn't. You want to do it, you want to try doing that, go ahead. This way is much easier. So hopefully those of you who asked what to do, that made a little bit more sense. And if it doesn't, you'll ask again. So have 5 industries in here. All right. And whatever one or ones you choose when you click calculate, I think they said search in here. All right. And have it come out and show 3 jobs. Now, hopefully that made sense to everybody. Okay. All right. So that's the second one. Then the third one. This is very similar to ones we've done before. All right. This is very similar to one of the ones you had on your last test. All right. And now that I think about it, I don't think I put this in, so I'm going to have to add that on my own. All right. But right now, what I did was I've got first name, last name, clear, search first, search last, and exit. So if I say John and I search the first, there's the information about John Doe. All right. If I clear, I think I had somebody with a last name of Green. I'm not real original when I do mine. Nope. Individual by this name not found. So let's say, did I do a black? No. How about a Doe? Well, something scoofed up in mine, but you get the idea. You should be able to put in either a first name or a last name. I'll have to check this. All right. I've got actually 2 copies of it. I may have copied in the old copy, which wasn't totally working. But if I come in here and put in Jane. All right. So that's why, like you said, green should work in there. It's not. So I must have the old copy in here. So that's what we're looking for in there. Now, it says in here, text box on the perform click. What does that mean? That means what you can do on this one and on this one is just click it, and whatever routine you're going to call to search by first name here, call the same routine on the click routine here, and whatever one you're going to do here, call the same routine here. That's all you're going to have to do. All right. Then finally, for the last one, you were supposed to go back and redo the hotel or whatever this is thing. So for that one, got this. You were supposed to set it up so whenever it loaded, it did the current date and then 3 days from the current date. If I click calculate, 3 days, $120 a night. All right. If I come in and say 3/2 or 3/3, that's fine. 37 doesn't make any sense. But this date is is later than this date, which makes no sense. So departure date must be later than arrival date. Okay. If I leave it blank, I get string was not in the correct format. I did a stack trace. You don't have to do that. All right. If I put garbage in here, I get the same kind of stuff in here. Okay. If I put in a first date, so 3/2/2024, but no last, same kind of thing. I get all those errors. And what I should have done is I should have cleared this, and I didn't. I'll fix that on my own copy in a bit. So if I come in here and now let's say 3/30/2024, so that now looks like it makes sense at least. So that's 28 nights, $3,600. 3,600 divided by 28 should be 128.57. So again, it's the same program that I did for you as part of the extra exercises, but when I did it for you, I set these two things up as date time pickers. You are to go back and make these text boxes. All right. Now we're going to do superhero one, but before, or superhero rather, the first lab. But before we do, tomorrow, when you are creating this, it's going to be kind of like this one right here. All right. But kind of yes and kind of no. I'm not going to say any more about it. All right. I'm not supposed to do that. That isn't fair. All right. But you should be able to populate drop-down lists. And you should even be able to populate one drop-down list based on what you selected in another drop-down list. If that doesn't make sense, I will be going over all of it with you tomorrow. Promise. All right. So I've got this right now. There is no code in here, nothing, as you can see, but I have built my interface. So a drop-down list, which I call DDL superhero. All right. A label for the name, a label for the alter ego. I guess I did make this a label. All right. I must have stretched it out. I don't know. For the bio, this is another one of those picture boxes for the superhero picture. This is a label for the URL, our clear button, and our exit button. Okay. So let's start. And again, I promise by the end of the day today, when I send out the second email, I will send out a listing of all these arrays as well. So you don't have to go and put all that stuff in. But let's go grab those. I'm going to change this to declare and initialize class variables, because that's what they are. And I'm going to grab all of these, just move them over one. That looks okay to me. Copy all that in, and let's put it into the program. I didn't think I did that before the break. I think it's just still empty. Yeah, it is. All right, so I'm going to put that in here. So again, what do we have in here? They're all string arrays. The first string array are the superhero names. So that is what's going to appear inside of here. All right. Then we've got, actually, I think it appears here. Then we've got their alter egos, and that appears here. Then we've got the images. The order which we did these, of course, doesn't matter. The images are here. Then we have the bios, and believe it or not, all this information was taken from these URLs. All right. And then we have the URLs, which are going to go in down here. So that's everything. All right. And actually, believe it or not, that's like about half the program right there. All right. So we only have the two buttons we have to worry about. So let's clear and let's do exit. All right. For exit, as always, let's go back and grab this. I don't remember if I actually have an error message in here or don't have one. It really and truly in the end won't matter very much. But just in case, I'll just call this show message. All right, so I've got that all done. All right, and I'll need my clear form. And for that one, all right, where are we? Private void, clear form. And I will make sure that the image is set back. Now, I don't want it to be empty. I want it to be that first picture that had all the superheroes on it. So I called it pic. I don't know why. I usually call it PB for picture box, but it's fine. Dot image equal, and this time I'll give it the whole path. System dot drawing dot image dot from file, and then we'll put this on another line. So, and that'll be superhero images 0. In other words, it's the first one. I spelled hero wrong. All right, now when I run this, there's nothing in the load event yet to my knowledge. So when I run this, nothing magical happens. But when I click clear, notice that picture is back. All right, so that's a start. All right, we'll fill in the rest as we get going in here. So what else do we have to do? Well, not only do we want to, in here, do we want to clear that, but we want to clear out all of our labels basically. So LBL name.text is going to be equal to nothing. LBL alter ego.text is going to be equal to nothing. Equal to nothing. And LBL URL dot text is going to be equal to nothing. All right, so there's nothing in there. That I can't really test right now. All right. So what else do we have to worry about? Well, the magic, so to speak, is going to happen whenever we make a change here. All right. So in other words, in this superhero index changed. All right. And what I did was I put this into a routine that I could have really put the routine in here, but I just said, let's just do this. All right. Fill superhero info. Again, call that whatever the heck you want. All right. First thing I'm going to do, grab the selected index of the selected drop-down list option. So in other words, if I picked Submariner, who's the last one, it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would be 5. So int selection equals drop-down list superhero dot selected index. Now I can't, wait, no, I can't spell. Right there, all right, right there, get rid of that. Okay, I can't test that right now because there's nothing that's going to show what's going to happen in there. All right, now, last time I wrote a lot of routines. Here I didn't write too many routines, but I did come in and do this. I said, check if nothing in drop-down list is selected. That shouldn't even be possible, but I'm doing it anyway. So if DDL superhero dot selected index is equal to -1, if that happens, I'm going to call my show message that says you must. Didn't I bring that in? No, I didn't. Exit program. Okay. All right, there, show message. There it is. All right, show message. You must choose a superhero, and we'll say here, no superhero chosen. All right, and we'll just return. There's no sense in going on. All right, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to move this up. And I'm going to put it right here. And somehow I didn't copy over that. There we go. So this is whenever I come in here to do something with the drop down list, it's going to call this. It's going to find which one I selected. Okay. But if I didn't select anything, it's just going to give me an error message. All right. Again, I don't think that's ever even going to be hit. But if I do get down to here, a drop down list option was selected. So I can do a switch on that, on the selection. Okay. Now, you already saw this from before, but how many images do we have in here? Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I better fix that path because it's probably wrong. I'll fix that in a bit. But we have 6 images. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are our only options that are viable. So in this switch that I'm putting in here right now, in this switch, I can say case 0, or a case 1, or a case 2, or a case 3, or a case 4, or a case 5. Those are all valid ones. So I'm going to call this create superhero, which doesn't exist yet. All right. And we'll have to let it know which superhero to create. So that'll be selection. And break. Okay. Now I'm getting that error, like I said, because we haven't done it yet. And this should never get hit, but in case it does, we'll just break. So we've got to write this create superhero. All right. Oops. So let's do that right now. And it's not really that long of a thing that we're going to do in here. We'll do it in a second, but I'm going to go and grab that thing right here where we called it. And I'm going to move that up as well. I like to have all my stuff kind of together. The stuff that's not our buttons, I like it near the top. So there we've got that. So we've now got, when you change an index, call fill superhero. When we call fill superhero, we're grabbing, this is basically will tell us which superhero. If for some reason none was chosen, we're going to show a message in return. Otherwise, we know that it must be, so we're going to call create superhero. All right, so when we create the superhero, what do we have to do? Not a whole heck of a lot. So let's just do it right now. All right. Now, when you look at this, okay, I did it a little bit differently. In other words, I said name and then the name, alter ego, then the alter ego, bio, then the bio, etc., and URL, then the URL. So in other words, I put my own hard-coded headings into each one of these. Did you have to do that? No. All right. Should you do that? That's totally up to you. So pick superhero image dot image equal. Now, if I say image dot from file, it doesn't like that. All right. Remember when I did this before, when I started filling that up, I gave it the whole path. All right. And that's totally fine to give it the full path like this. If I don't want to do these, again, I can come up to the top here and say using system.drawing. And if I have that, then I can start these with just image.from file. All right. So I have to let it know what file. So it is from superhero images, right? And which one? Well, I called it selection here. Okay, let's just call it S, so we'll have less typing to put in. S. All right. That's all we've done so far, but let's see if that's working. So file, save all. We didn't fill this up yet. Well, we got to fill that up. Let's do that right now. You know where we filled that up. That is in our form load event. I'll move this up as well. All right, so there's going to be our form load event. And what do we want to do in here? Well, we want to basically load the drop-down list. Okay, so I can do it. In fact, I shouldn't really do it in here. So let's just call it load the DDL. And we'll do that right here. Private void load the DDL for drop-down list. All right. And again, I'm going to do this one more time, just with a regular for loop. Again, the IntelliSense was good enough to basically fill everything up for me. Now let's see. There's my names. Okay, there's superheroes. There's Captain America. There's Hulk. There's Iron Man. There's Thor. And there's Submariner. So everything I've done so far has worked. When we get finished, I'm going to go over the whole program one more time. All right. So we've got that. Now we're filling up our superhero information. Okay. So creating our superhero. So right now, this is all that we've done. Okay. So I'm going to say LBL name dot text equal name. In fact, let's use some string interpolation here. Name, and we'll just put a space in there. That should be fine. And then superhero names for S. That's good. And LBL alter ego dot text equal alt. I don't know why I do that. Alter ego. All right. And this is superhero alter ego. No, not names. That's alter ego LCV. Not LCV. I used S. Remember? Here, so it'll make it easier to see it. All right, so I've got the name and the alter ego, LBL bio dot text equal bio. Okay. And the only thing that's left is the URL. All right, let's see what it looks like. So there's nothing here when we start. We could change that. Okay, superheroes. There is no alter ego. There's the bio. The URL wasn't set correctly, so something's wrong there. Oh, I don't think, maybe there isn't one. Let's just go through all of them. Captain America. Oh, it was. So there we go. The Incredible Hulk. The Invincible Iron Man. The Mighty Thor. And finally, the Submariner. So I think that's everything. Now, let's go and take a look at the program from the top, and we'll be done in just a few minutes here. All right. So again, I will send you these. You will have an array. And if you don't want to use these, if you want to fill it up with different superheroes, maybe you're a Spider-Man freak, or maybe you, like I said, I think they said this yesterday, you like the Justice League of America and you want Superman and Batman and Flash and Green Lantern and somebody else, I don't care. All right. If you want to use these, it just would make it that much less work that you have to do. If you don't like the order, if you want to flip these or do something with those, I'd keep this one first. But if you don't like the order, change the order. I don't care. You want to grab your own pictures, grab your own pictures. So we've got a string with these are the names of all of our superheroes. We've got a string array with all the alter egos of our superheroes. I guess that these were okay as far as the paths. All right. That I put in here. Now your path, of course, is going to have to change, but they work for me, so I didn't have to worry about changing that. And we've got a string here for the bios. All right. And again, all the stuff about Captain America, I believe, was taken from here. The Hulk was taken from here, etc. So these were those URLs out on Wikipedia. So taking this from the top, when we loaded the form into memory, okay, we did this. Now, I can do this if we want. We can say DDL superhero dot selected index equals 0. If we do that, if we add this line and run it again, now it's chosen. All right, that probably is cleaner because the other stuff I think was set up anyway. All right. And if we didn't want to do it like that, we didn't have to. So in the load event, I loaded the drop-down list by putting the whole thing inside of a for loop. So this went in and grabbed the names. Those names are used to populate both this and this. All right, so if we run this, Marvel superheroes, name Marvel superheroes. Captain America, name Captain America. So you can see we're using, it's doing double duty or whatever you want to call it. All right. So we load the drop-down list. Now, I don't think there's anything major here as far as clearing. All right, when we clear the form, nothing real big here, except this one might be something new. We're setting it back to the 0th picture. If we wanted to totally clear it, we could set it to null and have no picture there. Could do that too. All right. You say that's cleaner, then go do it that way. Exit, there was nothing new in here. All right. Exit program and our show message. So everything was pretty much predicated around the selected index changed for our drop-down list. Okay. So I called fill superhero info. And then, as the comments say, we grab the selected index. So if it was Hulk, the selected index would have been 0, 1, 2. If it was Thor, it would have been 4, etc. All right. Then we wanted to check to make sure if nothing was selected, we just gave them an error message. All right. By coming in and setting this, that'll never happen now, or shouldn't ever happen. But it's okay. It's not hurting anything to put it in there. All right. Then if we get down to here, as it said, drop-down list option was selected. So if it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, we call create superhero, and we pass that selection so we know which one we're creating, and we break. Otherwise, we just break. And in here, not very much code in this whole program. All right. So like you see right here, okay, create the superhero. Again, this is the selected index. So we set the picture box accordingly. We set that name text box, name followed by this, alter ego by the alter ego title followed by that, bio by the bio title followed by that, and URL for the URL title followed by that. That's the whole program, right? I would suggest, try to work on this. If you have time today, try to see if you can write this program. I think this program, doing this one, will help you for the test tomorrow. The other thing is going back to the one that we did earlier with Joe Biden and Donald Trump and everybody else, the president match one. You might want to have that one up as well. All right. I've already started to draft for you my letter or my email that I send, and this will be right here. This is now out there. I set everything up during the break, but you'll get it. But just so you see it now, that will be the path. All right, right there. There is a GitHub repo out there, CH911 pretest. My hope is between the program we just went over and this one we went over previously, that you're fairly well prepared. I will tell you, the test tomorrow has on it. It does have a couple buttons. All right. I think I think there's only one form. There may be two. I don't remember. All right. If there is, the first one, you'll just put like an image on there and a button to go to the second form to do your stuff. All right. But I guarantee you there will be drop down lists. There will be radio buttons. There will be check boxes. And I think there's one or two text boxes as well, and a couple buttons on there. All right. Is there a little twist? It's a little bit different, but tomorrow I'm going to make sure that not only do I show you mine and exactly, so you can see what's going on, but I am going to give you a couple hints tomorrow as well. All right. So that will be at 8:05. All right. You're done a little bit early today. You're done an hour and 50 minutes early. All right. And my hope is, especially for those of you who are behind, again, please take a look at, go out to Inside Rankin, take a look at your grade sheet. There still are one or two people who have not turned in the last test. All right. Everybody else, your stuff is all up to date as far as I know. Now, I know one or two of you turned in your written tests yesterday. No, I have not graded those yet. But everything that I have, that I can tell that I have through chapter 8, all right, has been graded. All right. And I'm going to give you a couple of articles, probably give them to you on Thursday. They're from Free Code Camp. One is good and one is okay, but there will be an introduction to object-oriented programming. That's where I'm going to start, is just talking about it. And then we're going to go over the entire chapter, and it's a pretty long chapter, and look at the examples in the chapter. Then next week, we're going to actually build a couple of object-oriented programming, whatever you want to call it, applications. So you can see this stuff in action and how it's typically used. We may even go back, and one of the applications we create might be a console app. I don't know right now. I'll be working on it this weekend. All right. So with that, I will talk to you tomorrow at 8:05. Have a good rest of the day. Thanks for watching.